movie, the story, and the acting. I
Hmm.
loved it.
I really listened to everybody who participated uh, when we discussed Sing Sing a month ago, and somebody said, "Can't we have more Jewish films?" So, um, my feelings about Holocaust films. We've seen enough films of return and films of the camps, and it's getting a little cliche. But this is a new spin on it. I thought because of the double betrayals going on here, but we can get into that later. Jeffrey, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, for all the reasons that whoever spoke earlier, I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I don't I don't know that I would classify it as a great film, but I thought it was very, very good.
Yeah, it really.
And I thought the the guy's deformed leg kind of reflected his character, that he was somehow deformed.
Yeah. Well, he there's one point where he says, "Well, I've never gotten anything in my life. Nobody paid me any attention because of my limp." So, and collaborating with the Nazis is his way of, and getting the shop, if he can see the guy through the war, is his way of finally getting something he really wants. So it's sort of his psychological motivation for what he does and why he's so insane by the end and mean to his wife. Mitch, what's up with you? What did you think?
We were very impressed with it. I thought the acting was spectacular, particularly the jeweler and the faces of the wife, of the faces of the assistant.
Yeah.
She had such an expressive
Yep.
way, not talking and just looking,
Yeah.
and you just know what she was thinking. And she was to me the hero, and she didn't have to be do what she was going to do, thank goodness. But she certainly had the intention, and I also wondered whether she was falling for the jeweler a little bit, as they were discussing, who they were, and in the downstairs. I thought she was getting maybe a more emotional attachment as she estranged from her husband, who was doing things that she was very upset about, and she declared that very quickly, that she didn't want anything to do with his social obligations and his. One. I guess there were two scenes that struck me. One was when the German officer, the Nazi, put out his hand to shake the assistant, and without equivocation, he shook his hand. And the other big scene to me was not the Nazis, but the gendarme, the French gendarme, arrested him.
Hmm.
And
Well,
that,
we'll come back to those.
okay,
Um,
sorry.
his name was Francois, the assistant, and husband to Blanche, and Daniel Auteuil was Joseph. Um, One of the interesting things why I felt it would be really good to show this film is that his journey from being a supplicant, an assistant, aspiring to be as good as Joseph, his call it a character arc. Where he ends up is very different than where he began, and um, I have various scenes I flagged where you see turning points, but I thought that was very well articulated. And the wife, I thought, oh, come on, she's such a mouse. But that's the point, isn't it? She's been dominated by this guy their whole marriage, and she just wants to live a simple life. And she has her own character arc where suddenly she takes some action. She's not going to put up with her husband's uh, mania or his unfair directives any longer.
What,
Uh,
what was the age difference, Jim?
I don't know, but there was some. It was common. Older men would marry younger women.
Okay.
It was European. Steve and Mona, welcome. Haven't seen you guys for a while. What To what do we owe this honor?
It sounded like a very interesting movie to us. Enjoyed it immensely, and we actually have had conflicts on other dates or been out of town. So we're very happy to
Okay.
be here.
Good. We're happy to have you back. Yeah, I mean, the characters had a lot of conflicts too, and that's what made it such an interesting film. Everybody has his own concerns, and sometimes they're in harmony and sometimes they're not, and it's constantly in flux. So very well plotted. Brad and Karen, hi. Good to see you two. You're muted, but tell us your first thoughts about it.
Well, I really liked it. I speak French, so
Uh,
um, Daniel Auteuil is one of my favorite actors. He's so good in everything that he does. Um, and the at first I thought it was going to be a replay of the Coco Chanel, a Wertheimer story. I'm sure you're familiar
somewhat, yeah.
with that, where the Wertheimers had to give or had to sell their interest in Chanel um, to an Aryan with the agreement that they would buy it back at the end of the war. So I mean, there were shades of
Uh-huh.
I immediately thought of that, and I thought, where is this going to go in a similar direction?
Yeah.
But I was really touched. And you talked about her being a mouse. She was the one character that it was just so hard for me to hear what she was saying. She spoke so softly
Mhm.
because she was so dominated. Um, but interestingly enough, the ones that were the most understandable were the French-speaking Germans.
They had good diction, but of course, knowing
They
French,
had great diction.
it's their training in boot camp. So, okay, so you're fluent in French.
Slowly too.
Yeah. I'll get to you in a second, Carol. Brad, I want to ask you, how genuine did each of the characters' French sound? I mean, they're all French
Oh,
speakers.
absolutely.
Yeah. But they're, to us, we're reading the subtitles and you feel the emotion they're putting into the lines, but did their delivery make you go deeper into the character?
Said no.
Deeper into the character
Yeah,
that
were you really
if I
drawn
had
in?
just been reading the subtitles,
No.
I don't know. It's hard for me to compare, but um, I don't know how to answer
Well, they
that
really,
question, Jim.
those characters are really
But
lived
I would
in.
say, I would advise people in your group to see, if they want to see an absolutely fabulous film with Daniel Auteuil, see the film Caché or
Yeah,
Hidden. It's an absolutely amazing movie. It's on many critics'
yeah.
list of best films ever. And
Others,
it is he's just such a great actor.
yeah. I mean, if the other two had not been so good, you could watch the film just to watch his performance.
Yeah.
Because again, he's another performer who, even when he's not talking, he's communicating. He's articulating the thoughts and feelings of the character. Carol, you're next. We'll come back to you, Mona.
Thank you, Jim, for recommending this film. I hadn't known of it. It is so artful in its storytelling. I'm hearing an echo on myself, and I don't know why. Oh, no, it's someone else talking on the phone, actually. I mean, in your
Saba, please turn off your phone or mute yourself. That would help us out.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where it is.
Oh, it's the mute is on the lower left corner. It's a little microphone with a red line through it.
I see
Or
the video, but I don't see the.
should be right next to it on the left. And if you're
can't wait to recommend this to many people. I think this the impact of this was so powerful, and the nuance and the suggested dramatic moments without having to see or hear everything were extraordinary. I just thought it was superb. It captured my heart. I was engaged and invested in this particular story from the outset. And um, I felt on the inside as a Jewish person, and that being my history, but in a way with occupied France, I didn't know every detail, and I like hearing about the Coco Chanel reference because apparently that's wasn't particular to this one shop. It was a practice. But when the wife, who has the biggest arc, and she too, I agree with whoever said she is the hero, the when she said, "I'll take his tray now," she was now complicit
Yeah, right.
in the new plan.
Turning
And
point for
oh,
her.
yeah, and there was justice, and there was so much in this one film. Thank you, Jim. I never heard of it and would not have wanted to miss
Yeah. I believe it played in LA in 2021. I saw it, like so many films, I saw it and I said,
COVID.
yeah, well, I saw it online and because Menemsha Films or High Flicks, had it as they often get a film on release for a couple of weeks or months and then it goes to Amazon. Um, it was so clear. I said, "What's to talk about?" But there's plenty to talk about. And when I
But
saw
can
it
I
the
just
time,
add that I knew not just the tray, but when we saw, I mean, we know about our Jewish captives' shoes. There's been much made in our Holocaust museums of shoes and the voices that you don't hear belonging to the people whose shoes those were. We saw the jewels, and without saying, "Where did you get these?" You
you knew,
know,
yeah,
they're taken off Jews as they're led away. And I felt that our jeweler, Joseph, was going to discover a piece that was his wife's or that he made and that
well,
he'd know what this was.
it, it, he did.
It
I mean,
did.
the film starts with an older couple, and he remakes a
And
pendant
he
for her.
polishes it beautifully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it comes back in a sack with the other with gems. And even if you didn't notice that, it was like,
No, I noticed it, but I knew when the was it the commandant or the German, he
yeah,
says this and even the assistant says, "Where did you get these?" And he says, "We get them. We don't we have other we can get more."
yeah,
And you know what it is.
yeah, yeah. So there's lots of things you can say indirectly, and that's a way of engaging the audience. Let them answer their own questions. And then they feel, I got it, and now I know to watch out for that pendant or those gemstones when I see them again. And I think we have an inkling about them, and then we see that it's a reward for revising the piece that his girlfriend, Younger, the commandant, Younger's girlfriend didn't like because it was too florid. That was kind of funny. And then he has to go back to Joseph to remake it. Linda Schatzer.
Yeah, yeah, I was going to say also, we haven't been brought up yet, the question of morality. I think that Joseph had more morals than the others. I mean, he chose not to take advantage of Blanche. He chose not to make jewelry when he realized what it was for. Whereas as Francois, I mean, had no morals. And if anything, I think he transformed into more of a collaborator and brought out the worst in humanity.
Yeah,
So,
we'll
so I
follow
think
his
you had
path.
some comments on that, on the morality.
Yeah. No, it's very much a moral tale, and everybody's morally challenged. I have a way of saying World War II challenged everybody, even if you weren't involved in the direct fighting, because you had to take a position one way or another. But he's a very interesting character to track through the film, Francois. And there's some moments when he isn't such a bad guy. I mean, he goes downhill pretty quickly, but um, uh, there's some decency in him, but he's very transactional. I want the shop, so I'm going to work with him. I'm going to, risk these things, and it's all for us. And he gets deeper into it. And when uh, Joseph gets trapped in the store and has to go to the basement, he's more complicit. He's, you think he's a good collaborator with Joseph. And we'll talk later when we get into the details of the film when he turned, and it's a great study is how and when can someone be bought, and it's not just in World War II, it's in any time. What are the tentacles that the evil side gets into you? How do they woo you, sway you to do things you never would have done before? Very interesting question for him. Mitch.
Yeah. Yes, Jim.
Well, what are your thoughts?
I already told you that I thought the woman was fabulous.
Okay.
That was my number. She was my idol. That she was the hero, and I didn't see it a Holocaust film. I saw it as a film about the morals of people.
Uh-huh.
It just so happened that the children left and his wife left. It just so happened that he was a Jew and that that he had a chance to be captured by the Nazis. But the interplay between the Nazis, the gendarme, the assistant with the weak leg, that was a human interest. That was all
Yeah.
human, and it was how they played against each other. And there was another scene that was kind of surprising when the Nazis said, "Just be careful."
Yeah. It's after Joseph presents himself as the assistant. I fixed his class.
Yes.
And he begins to think something's up and he sees the older man working on something at the workbench. He knows something's hinky, as a border patrol agent
I
would
don't
say.
think he was going to turn him in.
Yeah, well, I think he may have, because then they start showing up for them. Okay, Arlene, welcome back. Arlene, we'll come back to Stephen Mona after everybody's had a chance to talk.
That's mute.
Yeah, lower left corner, Arlene. Lower left corner. There's a little microphone. There you go.
Yeah. Good to see everybody.
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Do you want to share anything, your reactions to the film?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the film, and I also felt it was about morality and morals, and it's hard to see that in people when they have no morals or scruples.
Well, I think part of the film is how everybody changed. They're all betraying each other, except, well, Joseph and not Joseph, but Francois and Blanche. They're betraying people. She betrays him. He betrays Daniel. And he's trying to get around the Nazi commandant as well, who then betrays his trust when he senses something's up. So, it's all very delicately poised. The stage is set. Everybody's teetering on a thin edge. Which way are they going to fall? And it's really extremely well done and well written. Steve Zimmerman.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I was 10 minutes late. I was having a lot of problems with the Wi-Fi in the house for a while. And I finally got it turned back on. So I kind of missed the introductory remarks you might have said. I enjoyed the movie. I thought I kind of agree with Mitchell. It's much less a movie about the Nazis and the Holocaust than it is this almost Shakespearean tragedy, the way it developed. It starts out much like the movies about World War II and the Nazis and the Holocaust and all. But then it kind of morphed into this really weird plot development, which I kind of have a problem with. It's not being realistic, but I mean, I know you accept the plot the way it's written. But the notion that Francois wanted his wife to go ahead and have sex with him downstairs to create a baby, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, she asked him, well, you can adopt a kid if we have to. And his point is, well, it wouldn't be my own, but it's still not his own. The guy
Well,
down
sure.
there.
Well, it wouldn't have his genetic makeup. I mean, it's a very macho, patriarchal thing that the world
Well,
must see me as a potent man, and I won't see myself as a viable male.
okay. There's a level of self-fraud that it was a little hard
Right.
to
Well, but
measure.
he even
And
says,
so,
no, I've never had anything, I've never gotten anything I wanted in my whole life, and I want this. And that kind of makes her sort of agree to
yeah,
do
I
it.
know it in the story it does, but I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
Well, I think that's
Um,
what makes it distinct. I mean, this is a plot turn that we've never seen before.
well,
I've never
that's for
seen,
sure. Uh,
so, you
uh,
know,
I, I, I struggle also a little bit. Again, you accept the plot the way it's written, but Joseph basically blows it up near the end of the movie, right? He comes upstairs,
yeah.
and says, "Here I am,"
Mhm.
and it's like the Nazi, the way they portrayed the Nazi, he was too dumb to realize what was really going on, and it was just some guy
Well,
helping.
I think he did know a bit. Well, let's discuss that later because that's a very important scene. Let's do Marina and then Saba and then Judy and then back to Mona and Steve. No, that was the video you turned off. Unmute. Little light. There you go.
Okay, I am on my cell phone because I was in the car when the session started. So,
We forgive you.
well, I liked the movie. I also thought about Coco Chanel. Throughout the action, I kept thinking about how the public, how French public reacted to collaborationists after the war. The women who entertained Nazis, their heads were shaven, they were ostracized. It was a very strong culture of condemnation.
Mhm.
And in the movie, we see how the neighboring businesses react when the Nazi commandante started coming to this jewelry shop, and how the public handshake affected the neighbors' attitude towards Francois. The twists and plots of this intrigue reminded me of a nesting doll. You open up one and then there is another and there is another, and it was delightful. I really enjoyed it. For me, the mystery is how over the years of a loving marriage, she could not conceive, but once she was raped, she did conceive. And that's a shock to me.
Yeah. We don't
I
know
we have to
then.
discuss that. I think that's not what the movie meant for us to understand.
Probably not, but that's what happened. That was the case when he came drunk and possessed her without her consent.
Yeah,
And
he raped her, and she had
yeah,
morning sickness, and that's why she was throwing up. But it can happen. What can I say? As
it
somebody
can
who went
happen
through,
anyway. Yes, but
Mhm.
why did he become a man that night when he asserted himself?
Well,
This is something out of character for this film, I think.
what that her husband would rape her?
No, that
Oh.
she would conceive as a result of this particular
Well, it's
encounter.
don't let the facts get in the way of a good movie.
Right.
Does
No, I loved
everybody
it. I
agree
really
that
enjoyed it. Thank
does
you.
everyone agree she was in fact pregnant?
No,
Yes, I think she was.
I don't even think she was pregnant.
I don't know it for sure,
She had
but
morning sickness
She was pregnant.
when the Nazis came to view a piece of jewelry for the last time when the two women.
I know she vomited, but we don't
Yeah,
know
right.
for sure.
She vomited
Could have
earlier
eaten
in
a
the
bad
movie too.
shrimp.
And the word queasy was used a couple of times, and
Yeah.
then she actually was
Queasy.
nauseous, and
Yeah.
I thought
Plus,
she
the
was
events
just
made her
sick into her
queasy too.
stomach of what was going on. I had to throw up.
Yeah, no, it's morally, what was going on was morally offensive to her. And more so as the film went through it. Saba, what were your reactions?
Well, just judging by the trailer, it was a pretty heavy topic. And you were talking about how, there's some people, there's like an impossible situation that they're in and they have to decide. Um, and that's when, your own level of morals comes in. And that is the interesting part for me because I'm an accountant and there's a lot of ethics issues in accounting. So this topic comes up often, and it doesn't have to do with accounting necessarily, but it's an interesting topic because there's a lot of choices to be made in life, and sometimes you have to make difficult ones, and mm, it's a good analogy to difficult situations that we face and which road do we take?
Yeah, I understand your analogy to accounting because it's like you better than I, because I'm not an accountant, know that your financials tell a story about you. So
Yes,
when you fill out the tax form, you're sharing the kind of story you want the IRS to think of you, whether or not it's the
exactly.
whole story. So we kid ourselves. Well, everybody does it, or there's so few employees left at the IRS, I can cheat all I want. Or, you know, I used to say morality is what you do when no one's looking.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and
But it catches up to you if you're not
yeah,
careful. So you don't want to be making the mistake because you want to be able to sleep knowing that no one can judge you in the future based on a mistake that you're making right now.
yeah. I don't think you've ever met a sociopath or a psychopath.
I have.
They can live with it. Many people just, including some presidents we know, it just pushes off their back. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And those of you, I've recommended this film before. It's called The Apprentice, and it's about Donald Trump's early years
Oh,
becoming
yeah.
a mogul. It's an excellently written and acted film. And his attorney, uh, somebody help me out. Who is his evil attorney who taught him how to lie and cheat?
Cohen.
Roy Cohn?
Yeah.
Roy Cohn.
Oh, Michael Cohen, yeah.
Michael
Oh,
Cohen.
Roy.
Roy
Cohn.
Cohn.
He first worked with McCarthy in the 50s, sending getting lots of Jewish professors fired because one time they both belonged to the Communist Party. And that's his training ground. And basically, he is schooled in the art of being impervious to criticism. Usually, it's through denial of what other people are telling you you're doing. And if
Yeah.
you deny it often enough, they'll believe your story, the story you put down on your IRS form, or the story you tell to Fox News. All right, let's move on. Who hasn't talked? Judy.
Yeah, happy to be back. So I had seen this movie in the theaters when it was first released, and I remembered most of it, but I didn't remember the ending. And I was glad I didn't because it was a
It had
great.
a bit of a change up. I didn't remember either.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
I agree with Marina that I didn't find it too believable if indeed she is pregnant after all those years of not getting pregnant. But the other qualm I had wasn't this supposed to be taking place in Paris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the streets were always empty. There were no people, and there were most of the time, and no cars. And even during the Nazi occupation, I don't think that's the way it was.
People were afraid. I think that's very much the way it was.
Once they occupied it, it's very believable.
Okay, only historical scholars, which I consider Brad and Jeffrey to be our scholar residents. What's the real situation?
Can I jump in and say that the movie did give us dates, and that was very important because
41, 42. Yeah.
that raid that happened was the date of the so-called Rafle du Veldiv,
The
which was
velodrome.
the most infamous raid roundup that happened in Paris.
When she said
What
they
was the name of
arrested
it?
everybody,
It was called the Rafle, Rafle,
Yeah.
du Vel, Veldhd apostrophe HIV. And it was where the French police, not the Germans, rounded up Jews and put them in a
velodrome.
stadium,
Yeah.
and kept them there for a number of days in horrible conditions
Yeah.
before they were sent off to the camps.
Right.
So you know, it from that aspect, it was a Holocaust movie in that incident um, is indelibly French.
Yeah. But I agree. This is what I call a post-Holocaust movie because it's really about what are the moral choices each of us make when faced with something as terrible as the Holocaust. That's what bound us to the movie. And so it doesn't have to be about the camps or about the raids. That was just a very small part of the movie. This is about secrecy. Could we hide what we're doing from the Nazis and prosper? So
The point
it's
about
more.
the empty streets is that the non-Jews, wouldn't they be out going about their
This was
days?
a Jewish,
Jewish
it was a
neighborhood.
Jewish
At
neighborhood.
the end, there are all those the signs, business closed. The whole block was Jewish.
Okay.
So, it's like we can pick it apart like that. If it ruined the whole film for you, I'm sorry, but it really,
Oh,
you're looking at the wrong things. If you say the streets were too empty, it wasn't real. Well, it's a movie, and it sets the reality it wants you to believe. Was not a documentary. Steve Greenberg, great to have you back.
Thanks. Good to be back. Um, it's easy. I want to play devil's advocate up to a point because it's so easy to see Francois as a villain, a typical collaborator. And I kept finding myself wondering, what would I do? What would I do? The first he risked his own neck by hiding the jeweler in the basement
right.
and feeding him, not charging him, paying him for the work he did.
That happened later.
He treated him pretty decently, and burning his letters to his family. Who knew where they were? Maybe they were. He. I just saw him trying to protect himself and his wife and the jeweler himself from getting discovered, and palling around with the Nazis wasn't what we know it is now. This hadn't happened before. He was just trying to go along to get along. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to excuse everything he did, but in retrospect, it's a lot easier to judge him more harshly.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, because I wanted to point out his turning points in the film. And I think it really happens 46 minutes in. That's after the impregnation is proposed, after he refuses to mail the letter. And I'm just looking at my notes here. And yeah, it's after she comes upstairs with the first letter. We don't know if they've done it or not. We later on, the second liaison, he says, I can't do it again. And we can talk about that as a moral moment. It's not because he was impotent. But the next scene is the Nazi comes by and he buys the ring. It's the first meeting with, his name is Junger, meaning young person. And he's just struck by it. And later on, we learn his father was a jeweler. So he's very impressed with what he thinks are Francois' abilities. And they return, and he returns and he buys a brooch, the first brooch we see with the rays of light coming out of it with one stone in the center. And
That wasn't the first. It wasn't even close to the first. He bought one of
The butterflies.
one of Hoffman's
Sorry.
butterflies, and
I'm
then
mixing the two of them up. The butterfly. Okay.
and then
Forgive
he
me.
comes back and doesn't like what Francois had made.
No,
and wants
that's later. That
that.
happens later.
But the first
Whatever
thing
they're
he bought
buying,
was one of
the Nazi comes back with a woman and she rejects the brooch and says, come on, she wants something more understated or elegant. You know what we mean. And at 49 minutes, Francois says, he's kind of a nice guy. You don't know him. And I'm going to start a new collection. I'm so excited. This is the kind of career I wanted to have, making my kind of jewelry for people who understand it. And that's when, interestingly, Blanche says, well, he's still a German, because Francois said, well, he's not so bad. And that comment about his father was a jeweler as well sort of binds the two of them together. Francois feels seen, validated by Junger. They return and Joseph says, don't get too close. What will the neighbors think? And there was a shot somewhere where the neighbors are looking and frowning. Maybe it's the handshake where Francois shakes Junger's hand. He doesn't even see it in the beginning. Yeah, Carol?
Thank you, Jim. You mentioned that this young German officer, his father was a fine jeweler, and that he was introduced to the skill, the art of making jewelry. And I think that's a key point in the reveal of the deception of Francois posing as the fine jeweler who created these pieces. But when he sees the emerged Joseph behind the scenes, scraping, tooling that metal for the butterfly piece, he recognizes the skill that's above what he had seen in the rejected brooch.
Yeah, he said, watch out, this guy will replace you.
Yeah, because of his background of knowing how fine jewelry is made.
Yeah. Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off before. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'll go and then I'll let Mona see things. But I thought actually he was reluctant. Francois was reluctant. He was kind of moral. He was honest. He convinces his wife. And I think the problem ultimately was once he started to be invited to the clubs, he was seduced.
Right.
And I think that's when he really turned and thought, oh, now, they're stealing jewels. I'll steal the painting. I can have everything and forget about this guy. It's almost a shame he's still in my basement. I'll write my letter. And I think it was the seduction when he was kind of welcomed into German society that killed him. Before that, I thought he was very, in a sense, honorable and worried.
He was.
And that's what changed him. And now I'll let Mona have the
floor.
But
Mona, before you go, Steve, this is how you get seduced. Even though you're moral, you are driven towards a goal. And when somebody offers you a hand up to get closer to that goal, you can compromise your morals because the goal is in the front of your mind. It's driving you, your ambition.
But he didn't do that originally.
No.
When he was offered the store and saw a future at the end when Haffman would give him his own store, and it took a while, and it was really the Germans that turned him, not just his own opportunity. I think he was reluctant to take the opportunity early and was seduced later.
Well, reluctant because he's such a decent man, and he says to Joseph, how can you offer me this? Can you trust me?
Right. And he became less
and
decent.
Joseph says, I know I can trust you because you're asking me. A crook wouldn't say that. Mona? You had
Uh,
a comment?
I just, a few things were said earlier, and I just wanted to respond. I too speak French, and I was struck by how almost all of Daniel Auteuil's lines are extremely simple. They were delivered slowly. He had a kind of a quality of gravitas, and his face and everything was so expressive that the simplicity of his language was amazing. Um, I disagree with our comrade in the class, or who felt it's not a Holocaust movie. I think it's very specific to this place, this time, because they're in the midst of a brutal occupation. And Judy, people were not just running around the streets willy-nilly. There were difficulties in getting food. People were terrified, even if they weren't Jewish, of running into the Germans. These women who went out with Germans, they were taking risks. And as for the pregnancy, I think the filmmaker is definitely indicating that the young wife is pregnant, because the girlfriend of one of the officers
Yeah.
makes a big point out of saying, "Oh, are you having an addition to the family?"
Yeah.
They didn't waste any time in the movie. If they had a scene and they had lines like that, it wasn't just a throwaway. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I thought all of the minor characters did such a fabulous job. That older couple in the beginning,
Yeah.
who come in and you see them turn into young lovers, looking at their restored item, and the way
Yeah.
they walk out together, and she's leaning into
Leaning
him,
against him. Yeah.
and
It's touching.
they have such the expressions in their faces.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
kind of lost all the years looking at
Mhm.
this beautiful token of love in front of them. I thought that was one of the most beautiful scenes
Yeah.
in a
I
movie I've
agree.
ever seen.
Yeah.
It told you so much about a whole life that was being ripped away from
Yeah.
everybody, not just the old couple.
No, but they had not much else left,
Right.
but they had that. And
Right.
it's not, that's just a symbol of what they really had, which was a good life together.
Right. Right.
So yeah, there's lots of rich stuff like that. Brad, your hands up, and then Marina, and then Judy.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I think I
Don't
forgot.
say anything. It's usually pretty good.
Make it up. Make it up.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. There was something, that troubles me, and I hope you can help me. At the very beginning of the movie, when Joseph proposes this arrangement, and the wife's reaction was negative
Yeah.
to this, and she says, "Why would you do this?" She made some comment about, he's been treating you like a slave. She
Yeah.
uses the word
Yeah.
slave.
Right.
And then later in the movie, we have this turnabout
Yeah.
where Joseph becomes the
The slave.
slave
Right.
as he's locked in this basement. And are we supposed to see that there's some kind of moral equivalency going on there?
Well, it's like
I mean, I just thought it bothered me the more I thought about it.
okay. You know, uh, uh, Joseph says, "Well, if you want me to work on these new pieces, you have to pay me." And Francois thinks about it and he says, "Okay, I'll pay you as much as you paid me." So you see, what comes around in this kind of situation, your past haunts you, and people hold you to it,
Hmm.
and that's the beginning of uh, uh, not the beginning, but Francois, was really becoming a very transactional person. No, I want you to stay here. I want to carry this through. I want this store. We're stuck together here, and I hold the cards now. And I don't know if you noticed this, but when he leaves one of the conversations, he takes something out of Joseph's coat, and it's his passport.
Yeah.
That's where how the switch is enabled. It's not how it actually happens, but it's to prevent him from leaving. It's very subtly done, but as he's passing the coat on the rack, he sticks his hand in, and Joseph is looking
Right,
there.
because he's using that to prove provenance of the painting.
Right. I don't
Right.
think it was to prevent him from
So
leaving.
that's why he took it, so that he could sell the
So
painting.
if he had the
Because the bill of sale is,
passport, then how was Joseph able to get back with his family who were out of the country?
well,
No, the reason
later,
that Francois took it, he put his picture into it, and he did that so
that's
he could
right.
sell
Did you see him?
the painting.
Oh,
I
Because
that's
he
don't,
had
right.
to
I
That's
don't,
prove
right.
provenance of that painting.
I don't
That's why he took
remember.
it.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
now I
seeing-
remember. You're right.
Please, Betty. I don't remember seeing Joseph switch the pictures. Francois.
Oh,
No,
we
but
didn't see it.
you see him showing the police
So
that
who do you think did it? I didn't want to talk about this to the end. Who do you think swapped the pictures?
He did.
Francois did, and then he
Francois.
left the other, and his wife has Hoffman then take Francois's papers and
Right.
put his picture in that.
She
But
did it.
clear that
No,
it's clear that
Francois.
initially Francois took Hoffman's papers
Right.
and put his own picture in it so
Right.
he could sell the painting.
Okay, that
Right.
wasn't clear to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was
It's
left on the
perfectly clear to
table,
me.
was Joseph's picture that he had cut out and
Right.
his papers that he had
And
that he
when
had
did that happen? After he
Exactly.
was
traded
upstairs?
out. And then she got the idea of, oh, you can take your picture and put
Right.
it in my husband's papers, and now you can
Get
use
out of
that to
here,
get
right.
out.
That's how he escaped.
Yeah,
He
that's
he
how
had a
he
passport,
escaped.
basically.
Yeah.
And about
And in terms of the pregnancy, at the last time that she was with him in the basement, he said to her, "See,
Yeah.
you didn't need me after all." And she
Yeah.
did not deny that she was pregnant. So
Right.
he was alluding to the fact that now she was pregnant, even in spite of the fact that Joseph hadn't impregnated her.
Marina and then Judy.
Yeah.
I think that Francois wanted to be Joseph.
Yeah.
He wanted to live Joseph's life. He wanted his house. He wanted his bed. He enjoyed his family's silver. He wanted his sperm for his child. He wanted his talent for the prosperity of the business. And he wanted the credit for all of it.
Mhm.
He wanted the child to be recognized as his own. He wanted the jewelry to be recognized as his own. And he decided to denounce Joseph to the Nazis after Joseph showed up. And the commandant could suspect that Francois was not as talented as he pretended to be. Unfortunately, with all that also came being Jewish. And when he forged the papers, he paid with his getting beaten and arrested, and maybe with his life, because being Joseph, you are also being persecuted.
Right.
So his wish to have everything from Joseph and like Joseph ended up with him being persecuted like Joseph.
Yeah, I think Blanche has a line somewhere about halfway through. She said, accepting the shop was a mistake, and now he wants everything.
Yep.
And it's like it's ambition, right? It's not just avariciousness or acquisition. It's the glamour, the fame, the self-affirmation that you'd get by living the life of Joseph if you were Francois. Judy, did you have a comment?
Well, yes, Marina basically said what I was going to say.
Okay.
But I'll elaborate a bit. He was, I think, jealous of Joseph's talent, because he wanted to be recognized for his own talent, and instead he was rebuked. I mean, basically,
Yeah.
he was told, your design isn't that great, and go back to the butterfly. And I did think, wow, that was really stupid of him to go to the pawnbroker with a Jew's passport. He was trying to adopt the persona of Joseph, but in so doing, he really signed his own, if not death warrant, his own arrest warrant.
Yeah, right.
It was very, very foolish. But Marina pretty much said what I wanted to say.
Yeah. There's an interesting
Thank you,
thing
Marina.
in terms of Francois' transactional, the way he measures life in, what am I going to get for doing this? There's a great moment when they make a deal. I'll work on the stolen jewelry, but you have to deliver my letters, right? And he says, yeah, and you can keep sending money to your wife. So each are trapped by, especially Joseph there is trapped into doing this morally disgusting thing, which is mounting stolen jewels from Jews into jewelry they're going to sell to the Nazi officer. So he allows that morality to be compromised because it's a mean to his end. So we're all manipulated by our needs and our wants and desires. And some very sharp people diagnose that. Some sociopaths spot people's weakness right away and they go for it. And some just do it intuitively and don't even know they're doing it. Carol? You're muted, Carol.
I muted. I felt that the awareness that the jewels were with that locket were taken from Jews, that was the deal breaker for him. The game, the trade, the transaction was all over with. He said, no, that's over with. He says to Blanche. And I think he was willing to die for that conviction that he would not be involved in that anymore. He would not be complicit in that terrible act. And I think he was willing to die for it, and he came upstairs. All bets were off. And the writing, where, of course, that twist where Francois' own evil deeds turn out to be his undoing, his death sentence. You have maybe Blanche is pregnant with a new life. You have Francois doomed to death. You have so much going on at that crucial turning point of that's over with. I'm not working with Jewish jewels, and that's it. Jews owned.
Yeah, he was risking his own safety in that moment.
And he came up, but the consequences were immaterial. He had crossed that. He wasn't going to cross the line. He came up, and I just thought it was. I can't wait to share it with others. It was unexpected and neat and artistic. I'm thrilled with this piece.
Yeah, I was too. It's a gorgeous looking film in terms of the camera and lighting and just the performances. All three of them just nailed it and was so convincing.
We don't know that Francois is going to be killed because he does have that relationship with the Nazi. And if he can manage to get the Nazi to come to his rescue, he may get out.
But he's no longer Francois. He's Haffman.
But the Nazi can say, no, this guy is Francois.
Okay. But you see, they put him in a cell.
That compromises him
because
he was
and
hiding
other people in the cell, Steve.
This is true. He is compromised.
And remember,
the Nazi made that comment to him. He said, luck doesn't last.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty significant.
Yeah. But let's remember that when they push Francois into the cell, who's in the cell with him?
Jews.
And the last image is the Jews all around him converging.
Yeah.
Right? They're onto him. Whether they beat him up, whether they kill him, I don't know. But that's the implication, that he's exactly where he doesn't want to be. And he's paying for the deception. So it almost doesn't matter what actually happens. The point is, he's out of the picture. He's out of his own picture. He'll never achieve what he wanted to with this whole scheme.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Mona.
I just wanted to say, I thought it was very interesting that his design, Francois' design of a pin, was very militaristic looking.
Yeah.
It was exactly like something that I would associate with the Nazis.
Yeah,
It
it was a
made
Nazi emblem, like the
um
eagle with the wings out
with
in
yeah. So
or
I
a
thought
starburst.
it was interesting that the blonde just rejected it. And I also thought that that Blanche's initial reaction and description of how Joseph had treated her husband, I thought she was anti-Semitic. She had heard her husband complain about the boss,
Oh
and
yeah,
it was just part of her normal vocabulary to ascribe a whole
yeah.
set of characteristics to him. She didn't know him. She hadn't met him before. And I thought it was very interesting in the beginning. They bring out the silver service, they bring out the crystal, and
The
then
dress.
and she's mortified, absolutely mortified when she breaks a glass. And I thought it was sort of amusing when not only does Joseph reassure her and say it's okay that you broke this thing, but he's kind of looking at the silver like it's something foreign. We never used it.
Yeah.
I
What's
thought that
important to them is not important to Joseph. Yeah.
right, right. I thought
Yeah.
it was done. The story was told in a very graceful way, but I think that gradually Blanche, as the Nazis are seducing her husband and he's coming home drunk and being vile
Yeah.
and not being at all the person with her that we saw at the beginning of the movie, and the Jew who she thought, oh, he treated you like a slave, he's much nicer to Blanche in many ways than her husband.
Yeah.
As
As
the
this film
movie
progresses.
progresses.
Yeah. Brad, are you raising your finger or just?
Yeah, in terms of, again, this being a Holocaust type movie, I was trying to think of what evidence there is that Joseph is Jewish. Joseph's Judaism, how is that
Well,
manifested in the
okay, there
There's
is
a
movie?
this.
And
Hanukkah, very prominent.
the one
Yeah.
thing that I remember is that you see when he's in the basement, there's a menorah. That's the one
There's a book in
Jewish
Hebrew that she
thing.
opens up.
Huh?
There's a book she opens up. It's a blue book and it has Hebrew writing in it.
And it's
And
a Torah.
No, he opens it.
no, she
Oh,
opens
she
it,
does.
picks it up.
When was
She
that?
picks it up. And he
What
says, do
was
you
that?
believe
In
in
the
God? She says, no.
Oh,
But I turn to the Bible when I have a question. And
okay. I
and
forgot that.
then she asks Joseph, do you believe in God? And Joseph says, no. But every time I'm stuck, I look at the Torah. So a wonderful parallel, saying these people aren't all that different, but the culture made them so, you know.
And Joseph asked, do you believe in hell?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, she said, I believe in heaven. And then he says, well, what about hell? And
mhm.
yeah.
Well,
Betty,
because that's what Jews
Yeah,
kind of
one,
believe is
yeah,
maybe an afterlife that might be like heaven, but no hell.
not these Jews that I'm looking at right now. And Reform Judaism doesn't go there. The Orthodox, yeah. Who knows?
one thing
I'm not so sure about that, Jim. I'll have to ask a rabbi. I
yeah,
think there is a belief in the afterlife.
yeah.
Well, I
One
don't
thing,
think
It's
you
not
can.
mandated. It's not mandated
No,
like it is in
right,
Catholicism or
right,
in some aspects of Orthodoxy.
true.
Yeah, Betty.
yeah, yeah. One thing I thought that was very interesting, and it's interesting, several people are saying here that they didn't see it as a Holocaust film. I did see it as a Holocaust film. I mean, Diary of Anne Frank is a Holocaust film. She was in hiding. So, I mean, I don't think you have to see the camps or all of that. But one thing that I thought was really interesting, and I thought it was just so effective, you were very aware of the menace, the Germans all around, and especially that scene with the ball that went in
Yeah.
and the little child that knocked the ball. So you were very, very aware of how
Uh-huh.
dangerous it was, and yet never in the film did they show any of the Germans, even
Right.
though you knew what they were capable of, they
Yeah.
never actually showed them being violent. They showed Francois being violent with his wife and
He
with
threw Joseph
Joseph.
down
And
the stairs.
early on, there was that person who put the knife to Francois when they were trying to get him out. So they showed other aspects of violence, and I thought it was just so effective. You were so aware of how dangerous and how menacing the Germans were, but they never once showed any violence.
Well, this is a case, and a lot of films do this, less is more. That oftentimes what's scariest is what you don't see, because your mind fills in the blanks. Oh my God, the goblin behind the door is the worst thing I could ever imagine. Or sex is the same way, illusion, enticement, suggestion is sexier than actually seeing nudity, because that's just kind of gross sometimes. And it's like it leaves something to the imagination, you see. And we were very aware of the danger of everything they were doing, all three of them, because had they been caught by the Nazis or the police, all three of them would have gone to the gas chambers.
Yeah, it was very effective. That's what I thought it was so effective.
That's why they did it. It was a choice, but a great choice for this particular film, which is why I did say it's not a Holocaust film. I mean, we don't have to debate the words. Yes, without the Holocaust, there'd be no movie. But the point is, the usual trappings of a Holocaust film were not there, because it's about the moral choices of people. Carol, and then Mona.
Thank you. I want to go back to the word seduction, and a couple of people have been using that with the seduction of Francois, by opportunity, greed, and how it manifested. But it's really Blanche that I want to talk about. We meet her, and she lets us know she was at 16 already a housemaid. And she comes from very little education and exposure to life, and she's this man's wife. She has no lipstick on. So when she not only tries on the dress of Joseph's wife, she's a couple of times caught in the mirror putting on her lipstick and using the finery. And what happened? Someone said, did we get a glimpse of a potential affection for Blanche and Joseph down in the basement when sex did or did not happen? There was a nanosecond I wondered, but then I saw what was budding in her was compassion. And that's something that her husband lacked even from the negotiation. And that's what grew in her, to be able to rise, to see right from wrong and inhumanity. And she grew and evolved with compassion for this man and enjoyed his company. So it was very complicated, and there was an entrancing relationship there. It was terrifically expressed.
Yeah, it was. And, we don't know what happened the first visit, but the second visit, he said, no, I'm just not able to do it. And that can mean I couldn't get it up, or it could mean, no, I love my family. I'm not going to do this. I just can't. It's not moral to me,
I think it means the second. I don't think anything happened the first time either.
No.
That definitely didn't happen the first time.
Right. But I think
But it means more than what the bare words said.
He is being a moral man, and he's being faithful to his wife.
Yep. Steve, did you want to say something?
No, Mona does.
Oh.
Which Steve? I was just going to add that, as Carol says, I mean, I think clearly Blanche becomes the hero or heroine of the movie, and she goes through an evolution, right, as the movie progresses. And in fact, that bouncing ball scene where Francois is ready to cave right then and there. He hits the button, and he's ready to give up the whole story. I was forced to do this, and she apparently is able to understand German where he isn't. According to the movie, he could only speak French. He didn't really understand what they were saying, the soldiers, but she apparently knew German. And
the soldier explained it differently to her. He changed the words in
Simmer and ball.
ball.
Well, all right, but the
Not
point
hard.
is that she
And
she
boy, he pointed the
apprehended.
kinder outside. So you saw
She
the boy's
used
face in the window.
common sense.
And she saw, as she was coming into the store, she saw the boy playing with the ball.
Okay, well,
She
she put
gave
two
him
and
the
two
ball.
together. She clearly put two and two together, and
Yeah.
she may have had a somewhat better understanding of German. I don't know,
Yeah.
but she had a cooler head, and she went down and got the
Right.
ball and resolved the situation.
Yeah.
But from that moment on, I mean, you know, it's clear that she was going to become the heroine of the movie. Um, so, anyways,
Go ahead.
What did you make of all the keys on the wall? Oh, I didn't have my hand raised. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
They flashed to the band of a board with keys on the wall, but when it came to needing and in haste, open that lock. She's
Yeah.
unscrewing with great effort. But there were keys and she didn't grab a key. What do you think the reference about the
Good
keys?
point.
I think maybe I'm not going to say. It just those are keys on the door. That's where they kept their keys. And maybe the key to the basement was there at one time, you know, but she didn't know which one it was, or, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
Brad.
Well, I have a question about the very final scene in the
Yeah.
movie where there's this pseudo reunion that isn't filmed. You know, we see the children and the wife coming to the door. We know that Joseph is there, but we don't see them together. So there's kind of this denial of a happy ending because this is just the beginning for these people, you know, living
I
in
can see that. I
Huh?
could see that as the choice. But
Is
remember
is
that
that
the
part
wife's
of
face does change.
What?
The wife's
yes,
face does change, and there is joy at the end of it, but it's through tears. So, you
but
know,
it's not, you know, it's not the same as if they embraced and
yeah, but that would have been Sound of Music, you know. It's like
Mhm.
this was not that kind of film.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, but I'm saying I think it's making a statement
Yeah,
about the fact that there's still a war going
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a good
there
observation.
isn't a happy ending at this
no, there
point.
was a happy ending. They were
Well, happy
reunited.
enough.
It was a happier ending.
They were reunited, like Steve said it, Zimmerman. It seems like they were reunited. It left us with a semblance of hope for the
Yes.
future.
We
Yeah.
had hope, but God knows what would
You know,
happen.
and you know, to turn that camera around is another setup and new lighting, and
Right.
God knows if they ran out of budget or not. It was probably shot on a sound stage because it was just a single shot of the doorway.
And
You
the
didn't really
kids.
see anything around the house, so it could have been a set. I mean, lots of stuff was a set. You know, the basement certainly was, and the shop interior may have been a set or sets. Um, so you know, the ugly topic of how much money do we have left to spend on the shooting part of this movie, you know, may have come up, and they just say, no, we don't need it. You know, we'll read it off her face, the wife's face.
Read it off her face.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh
I
no,
did I did have a problem seeing Blanche as a hero because she made a decision, and I think the rape was what pushed her over the edge, but she was basically condemning the father of her unborn child to death. Her refusal to come forward and say, yes, that's my French husband. She, I mean, she had loved him. They had made a life together. They had understood each other and supported each other for many, many years. And she made a choice. She wanted to be rid of this man, and she didn't approve of the things he had done.
right.
But to call her a hero, she, as far as I was concerned, she sentenced him to death by her actions.
Well, but she felt what he was doing to Joseph and her was reprehensible. Yes, she was sentencing
Yeah.
him to death, probably. And maybe it was vengefulness, but it's the first time we see her act with much agency, apart from opening the door with a screwdriver. You know, it comes late, but it comes strong and is very eventful. So
I guess I had problems. Everyone made choices,
yep.
and everyone sort of, in a way, they sort of knew what they were doing. I'm not sure that Francois knew completely what he was doing, but
No.
he was getting very seduced and falling in love with his own ambitions and dreams and forgetting everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to see her as a hero because she was married to this guy. She had made a vow.
Oh, come on.
Oh, what? Come on, get
That's
off.
so much for
He
vows.
raped her.
You turned into a monster.
Yes, no, what happened? I think it was the rape that was for her.
Yeah,
That was it.
it flipped
That
a
was
switch
it.
in her. But again, she had to choose: was she going to let Joseph perish and be discovered by the Nazis? No, she wanted to make sure he could get away.
Right.
So that was heroic. Had she
Mhm.
been caught, she would have been sent to the camps.
And if
There-
Joseph was
Well, I
caught,
just
he would have been caught too. I mean, because she was hiding him.
I think there was another switch for Blanche.
What
I think it was a combination. She was already in tears and resistant for the rape to be a rape, but it was finding the burnt letters.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
betrayal.
That just cracked any
Yeah.
illusion that he was decent and this plan
Right.
could be humane. And that was it. The burnt letters was
Mm-hmm.
her straw.
Yeah. So
I
she,
agree.
it's like she recovers her own agency. She's self-actualizing in ways we haven't seen her before, and becomes a total person. And it isn't just vengeful, it's her sense of justice. Who am I going to sacrifice? My abusive husband or this man who's been nothing but decent?
Mhm.
You know, it's a pretty clear choice. So
Oh, by the way, Jim,
yeah.
they did film the embrace of Joseph and his wife. It ended up on the cutting room floor. It was a choice. So I wouldn't assume it was based on how much money they had.
How do you know that, Steve?
He's making it up.
Okay.
I'm just saying, how do you know it's not?
I don't. I
We
don't
trust
know.
you.
You're so right.
That's my only point.
Yes, we trust you.
I was so amazed at how they trust the audience to figure things out. They don't beat you over the head with and this is how this happened and this is how that happened.
Yeah.
I had to really think about the why exactly Francois would have had that particular set of identification papers in the pocket of his coat. And of course, it was because that was what he had worn when he went to see the dealer to sell the Monet.
Yeah.
But an American movie just wouldn't be like that.
Well, but you put your finger on the artfulness of the structure and the writing of this. It's because they calibrated how little you needed to feed the audience in order for them to understand it. And they played it very close to the edge, you know, and that's a wonderful and a very difficult thing to do. How much is enough? And when do we back off from being too much? And you know, part of what I teach is how do you maintain engagement? And you maintain engagement not by telling people everything, but by making them hunger for more. So that's where a little confusion, a little unknown, you know, as long as it's not too much or too distracting, is a good thing. And that's what propels the plot forward. What's going to happen next?
And
You
if
know,
you recall, when I first spoke, I said I'd seen the movie but didn't remember the ending.
yeah.
And I think that's because, you know, it wasn't a Sound of Music ending, as you put it. And I did remember her fumbling with the lock, but I didn't remember that he got away.
Yeah. Okay. It's 8:40. I want to change topics here. I'm so glad you liked it a lot, and I'm so glad I didn't show Mickey one again. I bet you are too. But I'm never going to let you forget that because there's a kind of filmmaking we haven't talked about, and that is allegorical filmmaking, you know, where everything stands for something else. And the storytellers are manipulating the symbols. You know, it's not just what you see in front of you, it's what they represent. At any rate, I'm not going to go there, although Betty wanted to see 8.5. Betty, I don't think you do, but it's a lot more fun than Mickey One, you know, because it's Marcello Mastroianni and Federico Fellini, you know, and it's a pretty potent combination. Now, La Dolce Vita, which they also made is in many ways a more compelling film because it's not vague. It's about a publicist who is accompanying Gina Lollobrigida or some Italian sex pot on a publicity tour. And it's how the guy realizes that all of publicity and all of entertainment is a sham. And but I won't release that on you either. But I do want to talk about the future. We've been cleared for any Thursday in October. And luckily, the high holidays aren't interfering with us, or maybe the clergy forgot about it. But
Yom
we
Kippur's
got
on a
lucky.
Thursday.
What?
Yom Kippur's on a Thursday.
Yeah, but then Thursday night we'd be free to do this.
Not really.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it because we'll all be cranky and hungry and, you know, in a sugar shock from eating too much too fast. But so today's the 18th. So 2 weeks would be the 2nd, but we could do it on the 9th or the 16th as well.
The 2nd is Yom Kippur break fast.
Yeah, break fast. So we won't do it then. So 9th, 16th, 23rd, if you're all open to that, we'll do that. I think one a month is going to be my limit for now. But I do have a bunch of films coming up that we will really enjoy seeing. And by the way, would you like to see two of Robert Redford's best films?
Yes.
It's one's called Sneakers and the other's The Candidate. And The Candidate is especially relevant.
Candidate. Wow.
Yeah. And there are others. Rob Reiner and Adam Sorkin did a film called American President.
Great.
In 1995, I think it would be a little naive
to
hold it up. I'll take a look at it. And
By the way, there's a special on Robert Redford tonight on
Yeah.
ABC at 10.
Gee, I think I'll have to miss it.
Okay.
I'd rather see movies I haven't seen when they came out.
Well, but we got many people, you know. So if you want to send me a suggestion, absolutely. There's a Truffaut film that's wonderful, Story of Adele H. Sweet Smell of Success, black and white film with Tony Curtis and Burt Lancaster. Fabulous film about corruption and evilness in the publicity of Broadway. There's Elmer Gantry, which I watched it. There's a film, by the way, a documentary on Robert Reich, who was Bill Clinton's labor secretary. I went to college with him, and he lets everybody have it politically. He's an economist by training, and just retired from teaching. And this is a film called The Last Class about his last year teaching at it's either Berkeley or Harvard. I forget where.
Berkeley. Yeah.
And there's just so many. By the way, I saw The Materialists. Don't bother. It's a piece of fluff, but it's well made.
What is it?
It's Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal and Ethan Burke. And it's a love triangle. She plays a matchmaker who's involved with the two men, and she finds her way, you know, just like Blanche did. Then there's a film I want to see, Mr. Nobody Against Putin. And it's a documentary shot inside of Russia about how the Russian school system brainwashes their kids.
Mm.
And I'd love to see it. I will.
Sounds interesting.
That sounds
very interesting.
Where can you watch that?
Okay, and some things just aren't coming around to the web yet.
Jim,
Yeah.
comment about the staging was upstairs and downstairs. How do you feel about this being a theatrical production?
Of what? Upstairs, downstairs?
How do you feel about this movie being made into a theatrical production?
I don't understand what the question
On
is.
stage.
He's asking, could it be a stage play?
A stage play.
They're all different. I mean, you can say that there's a film called Nine, which is a stage play of eight and a
Eight
half.
and a half.
You know, and it's all in the treatment. Nothing sacred. Do something original. I'm a big fan of Julie Taymor as a director and visionary, visual artist on Broadway. So, I'll see anything that she does. But it's hard to make blanket, condemnations. I'd love to. There's a couple of Japanese films. Uh, Now, there's something I just watched. It's like Dr. Zhivago for Poles. It's a Polish epic. It's a Polish epic about a doctor who gets amnesia and lands in the countryside healing people, but doesn't know why he's able to do that. And it turns out it's a complicated story with his daughter, uh, and he doesn't even remember her, but there's something strange about this woman. And then there's a very Zoftig woman who runs the mill, who he gets involved with. And then there's the Polish prince.
Sounds like that monk.
Yeah, it's a melodrama, but it's so beautiful. And it's like, I kind of don't want to discuss it, but if you want to see it, it's called Forgotten Love. It's based on a 1982 book, film made from a book, and it's on Netflix, so it won't cost anything to see it. Forgotten Love. Um, it's just a
Sounds
gorgeous
good.
film. If you have 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes, you could see it. But that's
Can
what,
I ask you a quick question
yeah.
about the film we discussed tonight? Because I think all of us really enjoyed it, thought it was very, very well done. And I guess, do you have any explanation? I think most of us had never heard of it before. Why do you think it was because it was a foreign film, or what do you think the reason
Well,
was?
one, yes, it was. By the way, it did great business in France. You can look it up on IMDb Pro, which is an internet movie database, and it shows you the grosses from each country. And France and Germany were top grossing audiences for this in the millions of dollars, tens of millions. Um, so why didn't we see it? Because it's Jewish, because it was in French, because it's a period piece, everything that a studio would never invest in unless Meryl Streep and we're in it, with Robert Redford, especially now that
It
he's
came out
dead.
at COVID time too. It was still COVID.
No, not really. Oh, no,
People go out.
it was I
Jim,
saw it at the Lemleys.
Yeah.
Jim, can
Yes.
I recommend another French
Sure.
film,
Yeah.
which I think everybody would find interesting and good for discussion? It's called Entre les Murs, or The Class. And it's about a high school teacher in a challenging school in France. And it's a absolutely terrific movie.
Uh,
Great acting, great
how do you
directing.
spell mur? Mean,
MURS.
oh,
It's
okay.
between the walls,
Walls. That's what I
entre les
thought.
murs.
So what
Or
goes on
it's
between
just
the walls? Okay, I'll
this
look
is
it up.
called La Classe, the class, and it's just a terrific movie.
All right, thanks. Coming from you, that means a lot. Any other suggestions? I am open to it. We do have a film about the two men who escaped the first concentration camp, Helm, though, and got the word out about the killing camps for the first time in 1942. And that came and went from the theaters, but I did introduce it at its premiere, and the director said he'd come and do a presentation for us, but we're going to have to do that for the whole synagogue, and we'll do it. Maybe we'll do that for Kristallnacht, which was Rabbi Nan.
I strongly recommend Eleanor the Great, which I saw at a screening, and it's being released, I think, next week.
And what is that about?
It's oh God, what is her name? The 95-year-old actress,
Oh, June Squibb.
June Squibb,
Yeah, I want to see
plays a
that.
woman who pretends to be a Holocaust
Yeah,
survivor.
no, that's on
It
my
is
radar.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Highly recommended.
yeah.
That looks really good.
Yeah, that would be fun. And it was directed by
Scarlett Johansson.
yeah, her first film that she
Yeah,
directed. And it's getting some good notices. So
it's a very good film.
yeah,
And
so
June
it's
Squibb is
not going to
amazing.
last forever. Um, All right, so that gives me some research to do. Still
I'm going
waiting
to say
for.
Shana Tova.
Sure, you can. Same
And
to you.
thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. I'm glad you really liked the movie. I wanted to come back with something that pleased everybody. And Saba really is great. I hope you got a taste for how nasty we all are to each other. And if you enjoyed that kind of baiting, come back
Yeah,
if you've seen the film and you'll be able to,
I
participate.
will for sure. Thank you. It was very
Okay.
fun.
Are you a Wilshire Boulevard Temple congregant?
I just joined this
You
week.
did? Oh, okay. Great. Well,
So
this is
I'll be happy to see you guys in person, hopefully.
Shana
yeah,
Tova to everybody.
yeah.
Shana
Happy
Tova.
New
Shana
Year.
Shana
Tova.
Tova.
Jim, what
See you
day in
soon. Oh, and Lisa
October?
Pearl.
Thank you,
Missed you,
Jim.
Lisa, but
Jim,
come
what
back
day in
again.
October were you considering for the next
Um,
society?
October would be the 9th, 16th, or 23rd. So
9.
the 9th, the 16th, or the 23rd. The 30th is too late to November, because November the last Thursday is not good. It's Thanksgiving, and I'd like to avoid the 20th. And so, we'll see. It's like it's so much easier just to do one a month. It's really quite a burden to find films that will provoke enough discussion and are that you like. I don't want to program things that you don't like. So, and it's not that like your taste is bad or you can't understand the good stuff. It's just many films aren't for everybody. I learned with Anora too, by the way.
Yeah.
But
A
it
lot of people
sounds
didn't like
like
Anora.
you have some good ones there that you were mentioning earlier, just now.
Yeah. Oh, the world of film is pretty ecumenical and pretty vast. If you go back, cinema is 120 years old. And there's always something. So we haven't talked about Jean Renoir. That's the painter's grandson, and he has two films: Rules of the Game and a World War One movie. What's that called again? Steve, you must know this. Either Steve. Renoir did Rules of the Game and
Grand Illusion.
Grand Illusion.
Oh, great
It's an
film.
And I think he was the
anti-war.
son. I think he was the son of the painter, not the
Oh,
grandson.
okay.
He was a
Uh,
son. There's a great painting at the
Jean
Art
Renoir.
Institute in Chicago of Jean Renoir as a young boy, very young, maybe 3, with long red hair. It is one of my favorite paintings ever.
Okay. So those are two classics of cinema. And also, there's a documentary on Leni Riefenstahl that I really want to see and share with you.
Oh, I
She,
saw
she
that.
was,
I just saw that. They have really good archival footage.
yeah. Well, she's a very interesting character in that her death, she said, "Oh, I was just an artist. I wasn't really a propagandist." You know, and it's like the, she's such a liar, and kidding
Yeah.
herself to her death, or maybe she did believe it, but she's a very important person, like Goebbels was, in terms of mind control. And we talk about how did Joseph get seduced by the Nazis? Well, Leni Riefenstahl was seduced by Hitler. Not well, some people think sexually, but they were friends, and she played him, and he played her, and she did a film about the 1936 Olympics called Olympiad, and then the classic Triumph of the Will, um, where you talk about Nazi emblems in the jewelry we saw in this film. It's all about Nazi iconography and the manipulation of the visual seduction of Nazism and National Socialism, as they called it. And it was her, all her. And she wound up at the end of her life making films about Nubian women.
Jim,
Because
I
that was
saw a
safe.
play about her
Yeah.
where she came to Hollywood to try to get her foot
It's a
into.
play. I saw that play too. Yeah.
Yeah, and no one would meet with her except Walt
Walt
Disney.
Disney. Yeah. It's a very good play.
It was.
It's by Tom Jacobson, and he has another play coming up. He's an excellent playwright.
Was that at the Geffen?
No, it was,
The Fountain Theater, I think.
Okay.
Fountain.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just retired, the guy, Steve.
Sachs.
Yeah, Sachs. So I don't know who's running it now. There is a board, but they did wonderful work.
Actually, the other guy is still there. I forgot his
Yeah.
name, but the other guy.
Simon Levy?
Simon Levy is still there.
Okay. And Yeah, there's another film play they put on there. Uh, we saw a Mike Lee movie. I think that was about the woman who discovers Henry VI's bones in a parking lot.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, Mike Lee.
Oh.
But Mike Lee did a film called it's a man's name, Julius or something, about a working class pensioner who has yes, Mitch.
No, no,
Oh, okay. Who's knocked around the healthcare system, and he can't get treatment for his heart. And at the same time, he sort of adopts a woman who's down on her luck and with a young son. And he sort of nurtures them and provides a home for them in his apartment building. Not that he can give it to them. And their lives blend, and it doesn't end well for him, but it's all about getting there. It was a really wonderful play. And that was at the Fountain Theater as well. And then there's another one that was at the Fountain Theater. This is a real case. A young man turned in his father.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, who was one of the patriots on June 7th.
Yeah. That one was
January
York.
6th.
Was very successful in New York too.
Yeah, and that is incredible because it was taken all from transcripts at the trial, where the son has to testify against the father, and then the prosecuting attorney was a woman and she was great too. And the performances of all three were wonderful, but the father is just a lunatic, and he really crucifies himself in that role. And it just shows you how far out some of these people went, you know.
I went with a friend who's a casting director to that, and she was so entranced with the young man,
Yeah.
the son, that she met with him afterwards, and she said, "You're amazing. Do you have an agent?" And he didn't, and she helped him get an agent. She says,
Good.
"This guy is going to be a star.
Okay.
Maybe he will.
You know
You'll
the
never
business.
know."
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. It's bedtime for most of us.
good night, Jim.
Great
Good
discussion.
night.
See you in a
Hi,
couple weeks.
thank you.
Bye.
Mona, is
New
your
Year.
play rescheduled?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Mona, is your play rescheduled?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, let me know because I had it in my book.
Thank you.